Hey, it's Cesar.
Hey, I'm Carla.
Welcome to another episode of Carla and Cesar's Modern Life.
Episode number 13.
That's right, 13. It's supposed to be unlucky, and then this is the episode right before Friday the 13th too.
Oh, that's true.
So it's like the 13th week, and the 13th day is on Friday. So
That's cool.
And yeah, so we're here, we're hanging out, and the day we're recording this is May 7th, which is the day before Mother's Day. Are you ready for Mother's Day?
Yeah, I feel good. Made some bouquets for our moms. They turned out really nice.
Yeah, and we were going to be able to see our parents tomorrow too. So that's going to be good. So did you want to talk about, the whole Mother's Day thing? It's very fitting that this week it was Mother's Day because of what happened.
Yeah. I was like 7 days late on my period this month. And at first I didn't really think much of it just because I feel like last month my cycle was irregular as well. But then I started getting scared, and then I told my sister, and I told you, and then I told one of my friends, and then that made it seem more like real of like a possibility. And we like went as far as like taking a pregnancy test and everything, but then the next day after I took the pregnancy test, I got my period. So
okay. And the test was negative.
And it was negative, yeah.
Yeah.
And
could have milked that more. You could have just been like, and then I took a test, and then we could have put up a reel, and then it would have just been like, what did she say?
You could still.
You were like, very nonchalant, like, oh yeah, the next day I got my period. That's funny.
And like, how were you feeling about it? Like thinking, like, were you scared at all?
No, I don't think that right now is the time to do it, to have kids. But I also was like, well, if it happens, it's gonna happen. Like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, for me, it's just like you said, not the most ideal time. Just because, like, we've talked about this, like, we're trying to break cycles, not repeat them. And so it's like, if we did have a kid right now, I feel like it would be a struggle financially. And that's not what I'm trying to continue. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, you don't want our kid to be in a bad spot.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think that it'll come when it's time, and I think that it was very surprising because we were very careful in terms of like, we don't put that at risk at any point. So it was really
I have
like,
an IUD too.
Yeah, it's like, how was that? It would have been like a medical miracle for that to happen.
Yeah, but it happens.
I know.
Yeah, but other than that, like, if it had happened, like, we would have figured it out. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad that we don't have to think about that right now.
Yeah, no, it would not have been great timing, but I think that we would have been able. Because it's like I was just confident in our ability to do it if we had to. You know? But obviously we're not going to do it just yet.
Not yet.
And that's something that people need to know is that don't ask Carla or any woman when you're going to have kids.
Yeah.
Like, that's especially it's Mother's Day now, that we should, like, that's something that we should put out to everybody out there, is you don't need to be asking people when they're going to have kids, because you don't know their situation. And I feel like for years we got those questions, like, oh my God. And we haven't even been married 3 years.
Before we were even married, people were asking, right?
Yeah, because when we decided to get married, before we were even married, they're like, well, when are you going to have kids? And
somebody gifted us baby shoes.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, that was
it's like, I'm not even like thinking that far, but thanks, I guess.
And I guess
it came from a good place, I think, but it's still.
Yeah, and I think that's where we need to think about, because nobody means anything negative when they ask somebody when you're gonna have kids, but it's like it's everything else that comes with it.
Like, why do you need me to have a kid too? Like, just so you can look at something cute, but then like I have to deal with the kid.
Yeah, it's like I'm the one that is going to be taking the care of the kid 24/7. Even if you're telling me, oh, I need a babysit. Yeah, that's fucking 3 or 4 hours a week or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just having kids shouldn't be for the entertainment of other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than the pregnancy scares or anything else going on in the past week in your life?
No, just that, like I mentioned last week, I'm trying to be more mindful of my thoughts and stuff. And I do see a change. Like, I see how, like, it's getting like faster for me to calm down from when I do notice like my mind not necessarily spiraling, but like going to a place where I'm having thoughts that are not helpful, that are like more so like just negative in general. I do find myself like catching it like earlier on, and just like switching it up and having an alternate thought. And like if my mind thinks like a worst case scenario, then I'll think, okay, but what's like the best case scenario?
Yeah.
Things like that. And I think it's been helping. And yeah, I've just been trying to be staying present at work, and it's good.
Yeah.
Time still flies at work, which is not a bad thing. Like
yeah, I mean, if you're getting in and you're like, oh shit, I'm already done, then that's better than, oh man, I can't wait to get out of here.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's it. Other than that, everything's good. I'm excited for tonight.
Oh yeah, right now we are getting ready to, after this, we're going to go see John Mulaney at the Hollywood Bowl. So that's really exciting.
What about you? How has your week been?
It's been an interesting one. I'm still trying to find a job, but what I realized when I went to therapy today was that it's hard to let go of all the baggage from the previous job, because I did work there for 13 years. So the problem that I have, that I think that angers me, right? The reason why I left was because I didn't feel like I was heard. And so when I was having that conversation that I had to leave, I told them, like, at least give me the dignity of saying that I had a big task that I just couldn't deal with anymore. Like it was like it wasn't easy. And so I said that, and they agreed, and then I left. But then because of the fact that I still have people that I know that work there, like that are in the family, I still kind of get updates on what's going on, and the way that I left it just feels like they didn't even take into what I said into consideration. And in terms of because it's like it doesn't matter anymore because I'm not there anymore. But in the bigger picture, I feel like I'm seeking the acknowledgement of like, this was a mess. Like at least give me that. And I can't get that from and I don't get the the closure I want because of that. So I'm trying to deal with not that I know I'm not going to get that acknowledgement, and just try to deal with it in my own way.
But I feel like what you have heard from your family so far does come from that.
Yes.
In a way. You just want them to say it?
No, well, I mean, okay, if we're going to get into the details of it, right? Like, so one of the reasons why I left was that somebody at the job was saying, negative things about me, which were, flat out lies. And then they hired that person back after I basically was like, this is one of the worst things that has ever happened to me. And they're like, oh yeah, we're so glad this person doesn't work there anymore. And then as soon as I leave, they just hired them back. So it just goes to show you, like, they didn't really care, you know? And that's where it's tough to accept, because you do want to be like, yeah, like, I want to leave on good terms or whatever, and which I still am leaving on good terms. And it's just hard for me to emotionally take that like, they're done with you, and they're just going to do things their own way. Like, me leaving had no impact whatsoever, which looking back, it does kind of minimize, the legacy that I had, where it's like, what the heck, they don't, like, you just left and that was it. Like, there was no, like, things got better in a certain way, they just stayed the same. But I don't mean to like just talk about my past experiences at the job or whatever, but I think it connects to the bigger picture of, I'm just trying to find validation in that. Yeah, like I went through some shit. Like, can you just not pretend that I'm some like emotional person that has a breakdown, and just say like, yeah, it was hard, and I'm never gonna get that, and so I just have to like find a way to not rely on that closure. And it connects to feeling powerless, because I felt like I needed to change my situation, so I left, but I feel like I don't have another job, so I feel like I don't have any power, and even when I use my voice, it wasn't listened to. So it is kind of sucky to go through that, to realize that. But I'm trying to like also lean into like, no, you have a lot of self-worth. that you didn't deserve this and you're moving on. But it's going to take a while because 13 years, it's like getting out of a relationship after 13 years. You're not going to get over the person right away.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I just want to, get to that next step in my life where I am successful and I'm not thinking about like, what happened at my last job or whatever.
Yeah. I just hope that you don't end up like internalizing that as like something that you did wrong, because I feel like you took the proper steps that you needed to. Like you stood up for yourself, and you have to like practice compassion towards yourself, because like you did what you needed to do,
Yeah.
That's how I feel too, like about leaving my job. I feel like it's just what we needed to do for ourselves at the time, like regardless of like where you're at now, like even though like you're left with like without the closure that you would like, I don't know, I just feel like down the line, like you will find the reason of like why things had to happen the way they were. Like obviously things weren't going to change if they weren't changing when you were there, when you were trying to help, and then you are getting confirmation that they're still not changing, then like you just needed to get out of there, because like nothing was ever going to change.
That's true. Yeah.
For the better.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's I agree.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things that about, before we move on to everything else, I did want to talk about like the idea of, like one of the reasons why I left too was because I had a family member, my uncle. I mean, this isn't even like supposed to be a secret. This is straight up like everybody knows. Like he really did a number on me, mentally, and I did, because of the fact that he would always try to undermine, my position, and he would always make comments that would, they really led to a lot of self-doubt. And so when I talked to my therapist about it, I was thinking about like, well, why did I give this person so much power over me?
Right.
And then I started to think back of when I started, working there. So I started working there in June of 2019. This is 6 months after my dad passed away. And I remember during that time, and even like, years after that, I was looking for positive male role models in my life. So I would attach myself to people that I thought like were so that's what I did with my uncle. I gave him a lot of, like, I respected his authority a lot. I gave him, which, because normally you would respect your elders in that sense. But when somebody takes that, you're trying, because to a certain extent you want them to guide you, but they take that and then they use it in a way where it damages you mentally, then it's really hard to like get past that.
Yeah.
And I've been, and so now, and I can tell you, like, this was one of the reasons why I left, was because of the fact that my uncle was really a real dick to me throughout that whole time. I mean, you worked there too, the experiences that you had there. And I can name a few more employees that went through that. And the situation, I knew that it wasn't going to change. Like, it wasn't like they were going to get rid of him or anything. But now I'm just dealing with, like, do I want to even, still want him to be a part of my life? And right now the answer with a big, like, all caps is no. Like, but I also want to live with. I also don't want to keep moving forward with this resentment and like bad feeling towards him. Yeah. But I'm not gonna get over it like today or tomorrow. And that's what I realized today in therapy was it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. My question is, like, when was he ever like a good influence, like a positive person in your life like that? And
he
like,
was.
When was that?
He was at the beginning. Like, I would say, like, even he taught me how to drive, and he was really helpful in the beginning, and it was just along the way.
So maybe that's part of the reason why it hurts.
Yeah.
Because he was that. I didn't know that he was that. He kind of filled that role for you for
initially. Yeah. And so along the way,
it just even harder for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, and that's why I had to write down how I felt, and I did write like I thought that I was so lucky in my life to not have to deal with the machista bullshit that people of our culture sometimes have to go through. But it was right there the whole time, and the inadequacy of the reason why sometimes I feel inadequate when there's older males around me is because of the fact that he made me feel that way constantly for years, and it's like ingrained in me. So it's gonna take a lot of work to recover from that, and now that I can see it on the other side, now that I can see like what effect it had on me, it's going to take a lot to forgive somebody for doing that to me. So yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to overshare, but I just feel like everything that I shared in terms of like my past job is reasonable. What are they?
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything trash. This is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I hope that people can relate. But I also want to say that, I mean, if you have the choice, don't ever work with family. Because I mean, and I did have really great experiences with like a lot of my family worked there, and like my cousin, shout out to Ricardo. He he's somebody that I respect, and we've always had a great relationship despite the fact that we were really close and coworkers. So it's possible, but I think that moving forward, I'd want nothing to do with family and
too much of a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and even like with my creative endeavors, like the Rodriguez show, like it's tough because Mondo and I are really good friends, but we have to remember like we have to keep it professional too, and we have to always keep think what's best for the show and not get our emotions in the way. And it can be hard when you're with your friend. Not that me and Mondo have no friction, but I'm saying like if you're with a friend or with somebody that you care about them, but you're also caring about the project, it's hard to, or like you care about your job but you also care about the person, it's hard to like balance both of them. So yeah, I mean, I would just say don't work with family if you have the choice. Don't work with your friends. I'd rather but if you can build something great with your friends, it's possible. It's just not easy,
Don't build something with toxic people, basically.
Well, because you never know. You do know if they're your family, but it can be a toxic person that becomes a toxic person, and you can get rid of them in your life. But if they're family, or if they're somebody you were like best friends with, then it's tough because you're losing a friend and you're losing your creative partner, you're losing your coworker, whatever it is.
Right.
So yeah, I don't really have much of a resolution to that. I'm just kind of trying to figure it out right now. Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry that you do feel like you have that. What did you say? That you feel a certain way towards like adult, like older males?
Yeah, and I always try to figure out like why even people that are my age now. I feel like recently in the past few years I have gotten better at that. Okay. But I've always felt like
because you've become aware of it. Okay.
Yeah, because I've been trying to be better at like, hey, you get intimidated by people that are guys that are your age because it's because of the fact that I can't really connect with the stereotypical like guy things. Like I don't really care about sports, and that's when you're trying to make small talk with somebody like of your age, like and you're a guy. That's probably one of the first things that you try to make small talk with, and it's just like it's not gonna work. But I guess it's not really gender specific too, because it could be like just making friends at an adult age. But, I mean, I would say part of it is because of the fact that my uncle had that influence on me. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're working through it.
Yeah, I'm working through it. I know it's going to be a lot of work because, like I said, 13 years is not easy to just, all right, it's done, moving on.
Right. So I wanted to add, so I've known your uncle for 17 years because that's when I started working at the gelato store was 17 years ago. And I was also there for 13 years, almost actually. It was like 12 and a half for me. But anyway, throughout that time, like I knew of multiple people that left because of him, because they couldn't work with him. And I don't know why, but it seems to be males that he has an issue with, because I feel like at least any female manager that has been there, like has been totally fine with him, myself included. But I do remember at one point having to like stand up for myself because he wanted to give me tasks to do that weren't part of my job. He was basically handing off like a task. The task was like, go move my car, basically, because it was parked in a loading zone. That wasn't where he wasn't supposed to be parked. And he handed me his keys while I'm walking in, and there's like a fire alarm going on at the mall. And I did it real quick, but I came back and I handed him his keys and I was like, that's the last time I'm doing that for you. And ever since that, he like switched up his attitude. And I feel like, I don't know if you had the opportunity to do that, not that it matters anymore, but I feel like maybe he has more of that machista mindset than we actually realize.
No, for sure. I mean, I the one time I cried at work, it was like, that he saw, like they never let me forget that, multiple people, because of the fact that he brought it up so many
multiple times. Yeah.
And like, I think what people are not getting, the point that we know but we haven't said out loud, is the fact that yes, he's machista, but he's also like the old generation of like, I suffered, so you have to suffer. So if things aren't so if things aren't done the way that he did them, or the fact
which is so toxic.
Yeah. And it's tough and that's why we're talking about it, because it had such an effect on us for so many years, where it's like, what the heck? Like,
that same mentality happens at the airline too.
Yeah.
Because the people that have been there for years, they have gone through like multiple furloughs, and like job insecurity, and just multiple things, like 9/11. People were always like senior people constantly have like a reputation of like saying that the junior people have to pay their dues. And it's like, just because you suffered, you think we have to suffer in order to like have like certain like
to learn things that you should learn along the way.
Yeah, like for example, like one of the things that they were for that junior people were against was like the scheduling, like every other month. You were on reserve as a junior person, and they wanted to be straight reserve, and being on reserve means you're on call. And so it's really hard to live your life like that. And so a lot of them, that's another thing, a lot of them had to do that for years. And obviously, like as time went along, like that changed, because like they realized like that's messed up, like you shouldn't have to put people through that. But now that they want to bring it back, they're like, yeah, junior people should have to do that, because they don't want to do it. And so I just feel like that's, one time somebody said it to me, like they think of it as like, it's messed up, because their mentality is like, well, I had a really bad car accident, and because that happened to me, you have to experience something really bad too. Like that's not the best like analogy. Is it an analogy or a metaphor?
I'm not sure, but I get what you're saying. Like they want you to go through something traumatic because they learned
because
from it.
They had to. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that's kind of the idea. Like it's like, oh, I had to suffer, and they made me who I am, so I'm going to inflict you to suffer too.
Yeah.
So you can.
But the problem is that they're bitter about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do you want me to be bitter?
Yeah.
And it's like I don't want to be like you.
Yeah. And that's one of the things too. It's like, you can tell that they hate being there, and they want misery loves company, so they're trying to bring people down to that level.
Yeah.
So it just sucks, because when you know that that's what they're doing, and like you said, like with back to my uncle, you stand up for yourself, and I stood up for myself multiple times, and then a couple months later, it was the same shit over and over. So it's like time to go.
Yeah.
And it is like, I feel like we live in a world where older people, like, I mean, I don't want to get too political, but like the idea of like they're going to cancel student loan debt, and the only reason their people are upset at that is because, well, I had to pay. Why don't you have to pay? Right. It's the same idea. Like I had to suffer, so you have to suffer. Why does there have to be suffering in general? Like, isn't the point that we have to make the world a better place, more progressive for the next generation?
Right.
Why are you old motherfuckers trying to hold us back?
Exactly.
You know.
Seriously. It's true.
Yeah. So that's kind of. Yeah, and that's why I still carry that, because it was 13 years of my life. So what are you gonna do? It's only gonna heal with time, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. So did we wrap up that? Are we ready to move on to the scenarios? All right. Let's move on to other people's problems. I'll start with this one. This is the first scenario. So I'll read it. My son, he's 44-year-old male, divorced his wife, a 43-year-old female, after having an affair with a much younger woman. I think she was a 23-year-old. So the guy cheated on his wife, and she was 23. He and his ex have 2 kids, 12 and 16, and his ex has almost full custody of them. He gets them 1 weekend per month. He just got engaged to the woman he had an affair with and told me I'm not allowed to invite his ex to the family functions anymore because his fiance is uncomfortable being around her. I told him no, and now he's angry with me. My reasoning is, she has custody of their children the vast majority of the time, and I want to be able to see my grandkids frequently and not only once a month. She had basically been my daughter for 20 years, and it's not like their divorce is going to change that, the way I feel about her. And she is actually closer to most of the family than he is, since she was always the one who kept us up to date about the kids, scheduling family outings with us, and even spent more time with us than he did. Also, her family lives in another country, and we have been her family for decades. I'm not going to take that away from her because my son decided to leave her. However, I recognize that I'm still really angry and hurt about my son's actions towards his ex-wife and kids. So maybe I'm acting out of anger. Am I the asshole for refusing to exclude his ex from our family function? She goes on to say, I only want to add that my former daughter-in-law is not a controlling or abusive shrew who drove my son to cheat. She is a lovely human being who was also a very good wife to my son. He even admitted that it was not her fault at all, and that he unexpectedly fell in love when he met his new fiance. Nobody in the situation, including my son, thinks my former daughter-in-law did anything to cause my son to cheat. So, with all that information, what do you think?
I do not think she's the asshole for excluding the
including.
Oh, for including. No, not the asshole for including the ex-wife. Because, like she said, she's been in her life for 20 years.
Yeah, I think the asshole is a younger woman who is immature and can't handle. Yeah. Because even according to the son, the 44-year-old son, who was the one that cheated, it wasn't her fault. Not that it matters, but it wasn't her fault. And so they don't have any ill will towards each other. It's his new wife that feels uncomfortable around the ex-wife. But I think he's an asshole for saying that he doesn't want the ex-wife to be included in the family anymore when you're basically going to exclude your kids from that too. What are you going to be like, oh yeah, I can only bring my kids for the one weekend that I have, and she can't be a part of that. That's not fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah. And what else did you want to say?
That's it. Just the fact that, like, this is what you signed up for. You signed up to be with a man who has kids, and
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm trying to put myself in her shoes, but I think that I feel like she's gonna have to learn to be okay with it.
Yeah. I don't think that, because
because they don't have to be friends, but they can be like cordial.
They have to be cordial because you want the kids to grow up in an environment where there's no tension between their stepmom and their biological mom. So I think that he was out of line by asking her not to be included, and I think that I think she needs to get over it. And it's like, well, it's your fault too, 44-year-old male, for dating somebody that's 20 years younger than you and can't handle the same things you can emotionally. You know?
It's true.
Yeah, she signed up for it, but she also can't handle it emotionally because she's at a younger age than 20 years younger. Like, what are you gonna do? Yeah. So, yeah, that was it.
Keep doing your thing. Invite your. I don't know.
The person that was writing was the mother of the son. So yeah, you tell your son straight up, like, hey, she's part of the family. Like, yeah. And you made her part of the family by having kids with her.
And she has the kids. Yeah. And so if I want to see my grandkids, then I'm going to invite her too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you want to go ahead with the next one?
I, a 35-year-old male, am a single father of 3 boys who are 10, 7, and 3. Their mother died last year due to ovarian cancer. It has been a rough year, to say the least. My sister got divorced 6 months ago and temporarily moved in with me and the boys. She has a son. My nephew, who is 9 years old, stays with us most of the time. My nephew and my 10-year-old are not the best of friends, but so far they got along fine apart from some teasing from both sides. A few weeks ago, my 10-year-old started telling me that his cousin was bullying him and being mean to him. He called him names, pushed him around, took his video games, etc. I talked to my sister many times and told her to talk to her son. We talked to the boys together and things settled down.
Yesterday was my 3-year-old's birthday party, so my whole family was here and my late wife's family as well. It was extremely emotional for everyone because it was the first birthday since my wife's been gone. The boys, 10 and 9-year-olds, started fighting again, and I asked them both to calm down and behave. My son started crying and told me his cousin teased him about not having a mom. I choked up and asked my nephew if that was true, and he said yes, but that he's sorry. I figured I had a proper talk with him and my sister after the party, so I just told him what he said was really awful and he cannot say it again. I comforted my son and went back to the party. Before we cut the cake, my sister came yelling at me and said I had no business disciplining her child. I told her to drop it and we'll talk later. Instead, she said, besides, he's right. Kids need a mom. I had tears in my eyes by that time, and she just said, see, it's even turning you into a pussy. My in-laws were crying. I was tearing up. The kids were upset. Just awful. I told her to stop it and leave me and the kids and the family to cut the cake, and we'll talk in the evening. She said, listen, we both lost our spouses, but at least I'm still a normal person. She stormed off. After the party, I told her she has 2 days to pack her shit and leave. She's begging me not to throw her out because she and her kid will be homeless. Am I the asshole for throwing her out? He also added, my mom agreed to take my sister in temporarily, and my nephew is still going to his dad's because now his dad is saying there's no way he's letting my sister ruin their child. Damn. Damn.
So he's asking if he's the asshole for throwing them out? He is not.
No. Jeez.
She had it coming.
She definitely had it coming. Like,
so insensitive.
Yeah, like it's super insensitive, but it just goes to show you, like, if there's a person that's a dick, like, look who raised them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly what she's teaching her son to be like. And no remorse whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And she says that they both lost their spouses. Like, no, his spouse died. Yours, you just got a divorce. Not saying that that's easier necessarily, but, like, he didn't want to lose his wife.
And I would say that normal person is a stretch. She's not a normal person. No normal people would do that shit.
Yeah.
And that's why she's probably, I don't know, like, there's issues there. She has issues. For sure. What is her resentment? Like, I've never seen so much toxic masculinity from a woman.
Seriously.
He cried and she's calling him a pussy.
Yeah, that's messed up. I feel like their mom shouldn't even take them in, or her in, because the son will be fine because he's going with his dad, but that lady needs to, like, learn a lesson. And
the dad even was like, I don't want her to ruin our kid.
I know.
And you would think, like, oh, like, if they were together, then they were kind of had the same kind of worldview, but I guess not. Like, she's definitely, like, on some shit. I don't know.
That must be so tough to, like, not be with your spouse and, like, have different views of, like, how to bring up a kid. Like, that must be really tough.
Yeah, because now you see why they got divorced.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow. And it just shows you, like, it doesn't matter what preconceived notions you have. Like, anyone can be a jerk. You know what I'm saying? Anybody could be a dick. Usually, like, it's you know, most of the time when you go to court and they give custody to the mom, it's like, oh, you would assume, like, oh, yeah, no, it should be. But, like, sometimes, like, they're, you know, anybody can be an evil person. It doesn't matter, you know? So this is just unfortunate. And yeah, let's just hope that she gets some help and figures out why she's so cruel.
Especially when someone's helping you out. What the fuck?
And she, like, right away was, like, begging him not to kick me out because I'm gonna be homeless. It's like, if somebody's giving me the opportunity to stay at their house, why would I talk to them like that? Nah.
You're better off without that in your house.
The only thing that I can say about the person that said this was, though, they were, like, nervous about throwing out, like, her and her son. But at the same time, like, the son is turning out to be not a great person. And why would you want somebody, like, I would have, like, it's like, maybe if I was in his place, I would have been like, you leave, but we'll take care of your kid. But no, this kid's kind of turning evil too. Let him go with his dad, which is fine, you know?
Yeah, because he has, at the end of the day, his priority is his
children.
He has to stand up for them, and that'll be important for them when they look back on this memory. Like, can you imagine, like, they just kept letting them live there? Like, that would probably traumatize his kids.
Yeah.
So he had to do what he had to do.
Kids need a mom. That's crazy.
Yeah. And was she trying to say that that's the role she was filling? Because that's fucking weird.
Oh, no. He was saying that he was saying that she sided with her son by making fun of the other kid for not having a mom. Because,
like, it's his fault.
Yeah.
Like, he had anything to do with not having a mom.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, she was like, you know, he's right. He does need a mom. And it's like, oh, yeah, because she died last year. He's going to get another one right away. Like, yeah, wow. Scummy person.
Yeah.
I'll move on here to the next situation. I'm the manager of a small team at a large company. Each manager makes their team schedule. I hired Lacey last week. Lacey told me when she accepted the job that she already had a non-refundable vacation plans at the end of May. I told her I would make the schedule and I would try to accommodate her. I couldn't accommodate her at all, and there's already another team member out. I put up the schedule and was very surprised at an email from Lacey regarding her vacation not being scheduled. I informed her we didn't have the flexibility and that she was expected to work.
When I went to my lunch break, I walked by Lacey's desk and was surprised to see it packed. She handed me her lanyard and told me she quit. She said that she wasn't losing out on $2,500 and that she already had an offer from one of the jobs that she turned down that promised her vacation was safe. I'm now being called into my boss's office because she quit so fast. But in my experience, if you start a new job, you understand that you are last for vacation. My fiance says that I am an idiot and she was telling me, not asking me. Your fiance is right.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think she's the asshole.
Who?
The manager for
the
scheduling.
manager? I'm sorry. The manager didn't say that they were a male or female. That's why I was confused.
Oh.
So it's
I guess just because I thought Lacey thought that they were a female too, but they didn't say.
Yeah.
The manager is an asshole.
Yeah, I think so. Because you're right. Like she said, hey, like.
She was honest, like straight up, like I'm not going to be available around this time. But
he also said I would try to accommodate her. But it's like, you should know that this person's going to go on their vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you didn't want them to go on vacation or you wanted somebody that was available during that time, don't hire them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because it seemed like she disclosed it beforehand, right?
Yeah.
So if you hire them knowing that in advance, you're agreeing that
they're
going on vacation. So, yeah, what did they expect?
Yeah.
I understand, like, yes, you do have, like, especially when you first start a job, like, you do have, like, some sort of, like a sense that you need to, like, prove, like, okay, this is what I'm capable of, and, like, this is my priority. But at the same time, like, work with people, you know?
Especially in today's climate, like...
Exactly.
People are... people are leaving jobs left and right that don't serve them, and if you're going to put somebody in that situation, then they have a right to be like, you know what, screw it, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. Like, I'm trying to think of it for myself, right? If I find a job, I'm gonna tell them like, I'm gonna go on to this thing, but hopefully I don't. But at the same time, like, if I do have to be like, hey, I'm gonna go on vacation for a week, I've known this for a year or whatever, then it's only fair.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that we're saying the other side of it too. Like, if she started working there and then the vacation came up and then she couldn't get those days off, then that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're negotiating the entrance and this is what you need to work there, then it's on the manager.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think he's I wouldn't say an asshole, he's just a dumbass.
Yeah. It's like, would you rather be shorthanded for a week or not have a person at all?
Yeah.
And it just like, had Lacey been forced to not go on her vacation, like, that would have been, like, I feel like that says a lot about the environment, right? Like, you can't prioritize what you want to do because we expect you to make this job your priority.
And that's not realistic for anybody.
Yeah.
No job should be your life unless, you already want to do that. Like, Yeah. All right. Well, those were the scenarios. We had 3 different interesting ones. I would say that, each week I learned that there's shitty people in the world, but but I do believe that, for every shitty person, there's like probably 10 people that are doing great things that they don't get written up online about because, they're just decent people.
Right.
So that's how we need to look at it.
Yep. It's true.
All right, guys. Don't forget to send your scenarios if you want us to give you advice to advice@carlaandcesar.com. If you're not following the channel, you should do that. You should click subscribe on the video and like it and share it or whatever. And comment. And if you're seeing a clip of this and you're not on the YouTube, go to carlaandcesar.com. That'll take you straight to the channel. Carla with a C and then Cesar, not with an A in the middle. Cesar.
Carla with a C, not a K.
Yeah, Carla with a C. You'll see it at the beginning. You'll see it actually throughout the whole video. And that's it. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I wanted to add something about just don't be toxic at work in general.
Yeah.
With your family.
Don't bring in your anger. If you get angry at work, what's the point of making somebody else angry too? Like, yeah.
Don't spread the negativity.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. We're gonna have another great episode. If you're watching this on Sunday or Monday, or I guess Monday, because If you're a person that celebrates on the 10th, happy Mother's Day. And
Feliz
if you
Dia de
already
las
celebrated,
Madres.
yeah, Feliz Dia de las Madres. And that's it, guys. Remember to take care of yourself and each other.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.